in what we call a value proposition. But we won't get to that right now. Moving forward into business strategies, identify your target audience. You need to know who you're shooting after. What target or what market, what audience are you looking to target? Is it the youth? Is it the elders? Is it a certain demographic? Is it males? Is it females? Is it everyone? You need to identify where you're going or who you want to shoot after. Third tenet under business strategies, building your market plan, branding, messaging, and positioning yourself is very important. Your market plan is very important. Knowing how you will navigate to get to the businesses or to the audience that you're looking for. Branding needs to be in the thought of how you're going to get your product out. What will they see on their end versus whether your message is getting across to them. You tend to start simple and then grow later. You tend to start simple and grow later. Fourth, in the pillars are financial readiness. First tenet under financial readiness would be startup costs and what to plan for. Do you have itemized things listing out what you will need to start this business? Has it been thought out? Do you have an outline? Moving forward, you will have the second, understanding your personal and business finances. You need to know where you are credit-wise. You need to know the challenges that you may run into prior to you getting there. So that's doing a little self-assessment. Under financial readiness, funding options. Whether you're bootstrapping, as they call it, you have loans, investors, or grants. Let's find out what bucket you will be starting with, where you're looking to go, how you're looking to acquire these finances. Be very important. A quick tip, the importance of a realistic budget and cash flow is very important. And a lot of research can be done to figure that out. Pillar number five is support network. I cannot convey how important it is for you to have mentors, coaches, peer groups, or just professional networks. What they can do for you and what they provide you is invaluable. I'm a product of my failures, but if it wasn't for my mentors, like the other panelists that sit here in front of you, if I didn't have my peers, if I didn't have coaches and professional networks, strategic alliances that I built, I wouldn't be where I am. It's just invaluable. Moving forward, under support network, leveraging community resources. And that's why you're here. Whether it be local resources, local chambers, nonprofit programs, incubators, SBA, SBDC, Trident Tech, Minority Business Enterprise, Women's Opportunity Centers, you name it. There's so many resources throughout Charleston and surrounding areas. It's ridiculous. It's up to you to go turn over some rocks and just make yourself available, because those resources is real. They're there for you. You just have to want them. Moving forward, because I know we don't have much time. Under the sixth pillar is challenge preparedness. This is an attempt to discuss common setbacks. This is an attempt so that you don't burn out. This is to get in front of your unexpected costs and your slow sales, because everything is a wave. You have peaks and valleys, and you need to prepare yourself for those challenges. Next tenet under challenge preparedness, developing resilience is very important, flexibility, and problem-solving skills. You want to develop resilience, flexibility, and problem-solving skills. Next, we have the role of a positive mindset. We can go on and on about this. Don't get me started. I'm gonna leave it right there before I get carried away, because positivity in your mindset, you are what you think, and that's just a fact. Um, the last tenet under pillar 7, legal and administrative readiness. Legal and administrative readiness, whether it be your business registration, your license, your permits, your certifications. All of these things help help your foundation before you get started. So it would be very important to get your business registrations, your license, your permits, your certifications, and anything that's pertinent to your industry. Lastly, we have under legal and administration readiness, we have tax obligations and legal structures. I tend to want to talk about the structure and how you and your tax obligations fast and quick so we can get it over with, because it can impact you in a negative way. Whether you're LLC, whether you're sole proprietor, whether you're a corporation, whether you're being taxed as a C corp or S corp. I know I'm going through these things fast, but we are here to help. My last is insurance, contracts, and compliance. Insurance, contracts, and compliance. A pro tip, last pro tip before I leave, is always consult a legal and tax professional before launching, just to make sure that you may know what you know, but it's never anything wrong with going to a professional, going to someone just for them to look over it for you, just to make sure that you're not missing any of the rungs that you're starting. You don't want to be impacted by something you didn't think about, or you may have just missed, or just just forgot about it. Um, Once again, my name is Frank Philip Ankrum III. I'm with the city of North Charleston, once Small Business Enterprise Department, now the Office of Business Opportunities. And we'll be here. My number is 843-740-2540, or you can reach me at F Ancrum, ANCRUM, at northcharleston.org.
Thank you, Frank. And Frank will also give that information again at the end of the session for anyone who may not have caught his contact information. So thank you, Frank, for sharing those 7 pillars. As we get started into our discussion, and this is open to all panelists, in your experience, which of these pillars do entrepreneurs tend to overlook or struggle with the most when starting a business, and why?
I can answer part of that. Frank, thank you for doing such a wonderful job of setting this up. You hit all the high key points of starting a business, taking that leap. And because we're here with Royal, we oftentimes tell people we also take a leap of faith, because work without faith is dead. And so some of the things that we have to do is we got to put in the work, and the work in and around financial readiness is one of the major structures, or lack of there is, that's where small businesses struggle. We jump in, we have these great ideas, but did we sit down and count up the cost of operating that business? And so that piece sometimes is what caused businesses to fail. Typically, small businesses fail within the first 2 to 3 years. If they make it past 5 years, boom, you're on your way. But during those formative years and startup years, it typically deals with financial readiness. And so beginning to think about what was going to cost for me to operate this business. So you sit down and you put together a business plan. And in that business plan, you're going to talk about operational cost, going to talk about setting up, whether you got to put the cost in for your time, insurance, if you're renting a building, if you're having employees or you're buying supplies. And sometimes we don't always think about things when we enter into contracts. I'm Ruth Jordan. I'm with the city of Charleston. And everybody want to know, how can I do business with the cities? Whether it's the city of North Charleston, whether it's federal government, whether it's municipal government, being a prior contracting officer with the Department of Navy. Everybody wants to get in. But if you get these $150,000 or $1 million contracts, you got to be prepared to perform those contracts. And you don't get money up front, not with the city. You don't get money up front. And so you can get the contract, but now can you perform the contract? And so financial readiness is a piece that small businesses have challenges with. And we do have an answer to financial readiness. We put on small workshops. We're a part of what we call the ecosystems. And so within the ecosystem, we have people like SBA, the Small Business Administration. We have bankers, local bankers, Daryl Milligan, who you'll be hearing from in just a few minutes, how we help small businesses acquire the funding for them to be able to operate. And so there are resources within the ecosystem, within the city of Charleston, when we talk about negotiating that contract, understanding the terms and the conditions of anything that you enter into. Sometimes getting in is easy, but performing it and getting it done sometimes is the challenge that a lot of small businesses experience. And so financial readiness is that piece that you got to sit down and do a business plan. And Daryl will talk about that business plan. And we typically do a 3-year business plan, trying to plan that thing out, but it is fluid. Just because you started it 3 years ago, you don't just stop there. Sometimes you always have to go back and reevaluate. Sometimes it's every 6 months. Every month I'm looking at my business plan. It's like looking at my checkbook. Do I have the money? So financial readiness is one of the major challenges for small businesses.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Does anyone else have anything?
Can I piggyback on what Ruth was saying?
Please.
Okay, my name is Daryl Milligan, and Ruth touched on the business plan, and that is something that I focus on tremendously, not only at Trident Tech, but also in the community, as I do assist different companies from time to time of actually preparing a business plan. And basically, the business plan is a written document that explains where you're going with your business and how you plan to get there. And one of the things that Ruth mentioned was financial readiness. Well, one of the things that we've come across is the fact that when it comes to the failure of small businesses, the two main things that cause businesses to fail, they're not financially ready, and they possibly could have some management flaws, because everybody who actually is in a position to work at a business is not necessarily equipped to manage a business. And one of the things that we like to discuss when it comes to the business plan is the fact that it's important for you to prepare in advance for the fact that for at least a few months, there's not going to be any income generated. So you're going to have some finances set aside to pretty much support the business until the business can support itself. So financial readiness is a big part of it. And in reference to the business plan, banks are going to require you to have one. And as Ruth mentioned, usually a business plan will be 3 years, and the bank is going to require it, whether or not it's a situation where you have a big idea, a small idea, whether you want a little money or whether or not you want a lot of money. They're going to want to see that you took the time to actually do some research and determine where it is you want to go with your business. One thing I would like to say is, even though my primary responsibility is being the coordinator with the business department at Trident Tech. That is something that I do now. But as Ruth alluded to, I also have 26 years with Bank of America prior to Trident Tech when I was on the lending side. So as a previous lender, I can stress the importance of making sure that you are financially ready and that you have an adequate business plan when you actually attempt to go into business for yourself. Okay.
Thank you, Daryl. So I'm going to take this one to Miss Ruth. As someone who works closely in with Charleston's new and small businesses, what do you see as one of the biggest challenges local entrepreneurs face early on, and how does the city help them prepare for that challenge and how they overcome that?
And so one of the things that we do provide is business development. So we try to educate small businesses in and around starting businesses, because sometimes we have a passion. You know, hey, I've been a great cook. I can cook. You know, they jump up and say, I can cook. I want to open up a restaurant, you know, because, you know, my mama said I'm a great cook. Everybody says I make great pies. You know, I do this great work. But just like Daryl said, just because you have this passion doesn't mean that you can manage. And so we put together, like this past spring, we did a workshop called You Got Bail. If you don't have bail, you may go to jail. So if you don't have a banker, an accountant, insurance agent, or a lawyer, you may go to jail. And so one of the things that we try to help these small businesses is to prepare, looking at setting the business up properly, making sure that they have business licenses. So we help you navigate with the nuts and bolts in and around those particular requirements, getting licensing. You know, sometimes they don't know where they can even go and find a banker or an accountant or a lawyer. We provide that access and opportunity. We work with over 15, 20 different resource partners and lenders on a daily basis. And so we try to make sure that they have access, because we found out during COVID that the reason why a lot of people didn't get no PPP, it was because they were not bankable. They were not bankable. They did not have a business account. They could not legitimize that, hey, I was in business. And if you're not filing those taxes, and you don't, if you're not bankable, or you don't have a bank, and you got your personal commingled with your businesses. So we try to help you understand why it's important to be bankable. And I oftentimes tell people where I save my money, my banker ought to know who I am. So if I'm saving that money in that bank, they need to know who I am. And so when I walk in there, if I need a bank loan for a car, or I need a bank loan for my business, if my paycheck has been going there for 25 years at Bank of America ought to be able to know my name. And so we need to make sure that we establish relationships. Frank said that you got to have relationships. And so we at the city connects you. You know, next month, we're going to have a big workshop that we've been doing every year. Lender matchmaking, speed dating with lenders, on August the 8th over at the Citadel Bebox Center, where we're going to have 17 to 20 lenders, whether you need $500 or $5 million, whether you've been told no, or whether you've been told maybe, or whether you said you're able. We're going to put lenders in front of borrowers. And so, like I said, 500 to all the way to 5 million. Because it gives you an opportunity to be prepared to go in front of the lenders. But prior to that, we're going to do a workshop to get you ready. Are you ready to borrow? That's going to be July. I think that date is July 16th. It's going to be that date. No, July 9th is going to be that date that you can get ready to borrow. And so you have to be prepared, because you don't want to show up in front of a lender without your proper documentation. I'm going to let Daryl talk about what the documentation that you need before you show up. And so what we do is we prepare. So we actually work with Daryl. Daryl put together a great marketing plan. We do marketing. We do business planning. So we bring the experts not the city only, because we can't do it all by ourselves. So our resource partners like the city of North Charleston, they do a fabulous job with small businesses. And so so whether it's Frank or his procurement department, our procurement department, we are connecting because we believe in helping. And in the new language, I can't say minority owned businesses. Well, the new language is historically marginalized small businesses, underrepresented, disadvantaged small businesses. So we concentrate on those historically marginalized and underrepresented and small businesses, helping those businesses scale and grow. And we're going to talk about some of the exciting things that we do offer in the city later on in the conversation.
Thank you, Ms. Ruth. Frank, did you have anything that you wanted to add in reference to what the city of North Charleston does?
It's just to piggyback on what Ruth touched on. It's so much it's so much we can expound on. But mainly, one of the main things, just to being from the private sector, yes, I'm on the government side now, but Ms. Ruth, as well as so many others, have seen there's certain things you have to have. And I know we're talking about the fundamentals. I know we're talking about setting them up properly. But personally, I need to see some hustle in you. I need to see some grind in you. It's not like a 9 to 5. You have entrepreneurs and you have 9 to 5s. They're two totally different people, and it's something you have to be passionate about it, and it can be an emotional roller coaster. I cannot. When I see businesses come here, when they walk in the door, a lot of times I can see, and for the lack of a better word, I can see if they got the dog in them. I need some dog in you. When you come across, I need to see your teeth. I need to see that you're hungry, because I'm not doing it for you. We can lead you to water. We can get you set up. We can get you, but I can't put that hustle. I just can't do it. I can push you in the right direction. I can cheer you on. I can give you as much information as you need, but I need to see your teeth. So I know we're going to get off script and we don't have much time. You see my hands are sweating because I'm very passionate about just making sure that you have some hustle in you. Because going to Ms. Ruth, going to Daryl, coming to myself, coming to the city, using these resources, we are not here to do it for you. We are here to help you, support you, push you, even cheerlead for you. But you gotta do it yourself. You gotta want it. You gotta stop sleeping. All that sleep is overrated. And I know I shouldn't be saying this, but I cannot not tell you what it is, because I am a serial entrepreneur in a 9 to 5 capacity right now. And sometimes I just can't help myself. So I apologize for the passion is what you see. The passion is what you hear. And we're here for you, but we need to see that hustle.
And before we get to Daryl, I have to say amen, because I will tell you what Daryl stated is exactly what we deal with every single day. We tell you this is how you compete when trying to get a contract with the city. Get on Bidline. Bidline is where all of our listing of upcoming projects is posted. Get on Skibo. That's where all the state contracts are there. Nobody's going to knock on your door and tell you, hey, there's a $2.5 million janitorial contract that's coming up with the city of Charleston. If you're not on somebody's list, if you haven't pre-registered, and I'm dating myself, when you went out to look for a job, when I went out and looked for a job, we went to the want ads, but there's no want ads now. We got Indeed, we got the Skibo, we got Bidline. Every municipal government agency have their own procurement line. And so you got to get plugged in. When you see that they're having these pre-bid meetings, you need to show up. You can't show up 10 days later. Oh, I just saw that the county just opened up, that they're looking at debris cleanup. You ought to already know that we are in hurricane season. And Mr. Barrett, he has an unlimited want of authority. So when the storm comes, you need to be ready and to accept credit cards, because when Mr. Barrett comes through and say, we need North Charleston clean up, we need the county clean up, I need those trucks to get these trees out, They're not going to ask you anything other than, are you ready? Are you on the list? Are you certified? And this is what we do with the city of Charleston: certification, business certifications. And so, look at you, done got me fired up.
All right.
Frank, you got me fired up. You got to be ready. You got to. And so this is what we talk about. You need to be ready. You can't be getting ready. And there are reoccurring contracts and reoccurring opportunities every single day. And I tell people, look for the low-hanging fruit. You may not be able to do that $2.5 million janitorial contract, but you can get a part of the contract, because you can't always pay for the whole pie. But what you can do is get a slice of the pie. See who's going to be the prime and you be a sub. And so we teach you how to do that here with the city, how to be a sub by getting plugged in, showing up in the pre-bid meetings and passing out your capability statement, passing out your card that this is what you do. And so, Darryl, I'm gonna pass it to you, because Frank and I will eat this up every day.
And I want to skip to the next question just so we can kind of get through all the pillars. And I just want to say amen to everything that y'all said. It is not for the for the faint of heart, being an entrepreneur. But one of the things that you mentioned, you talked about having different certifications and things that you need to have in place. So what are some of the legal or administrative requirements for new businesses to show that they are ready for and to navigate in this space?
Want me to answer that? Okay, so I'll start with some of the basics. So here in the city of Charleston, we have every municipal government agencies and most companies have still, in spite of what's happening, DE&I is still prevalent. And so here in the city of Charleston, we have a 20% goal. For every dollar that we spend, 20% should go towards qualified women and minority-owned companies. But you must be certified. So somebody must have vetted you in terms of business certifications. And certifications are like having various degrees. The city of Charleston is one of very few municipal government agency that has been granted the authority to do business certifications. So you have this municipal certifications, you have county certifications, you have SCDOT is one of the best certifications you can have in this state, because they allow you to work on federal contracts. You have SB, AA certified certifications as well. And so those business certifications help you basically give you a leg up. It doesn't open the door for you, but it puts you in front of, whether you are on somebody's list. We have, with the city of Charleston, we have almost 400 small businesses who are registered with us, with the city of Charleston. People from all over this country, when they're looking to do business here in South Carolina and they're doing business with the county or with the government, and when in our contracts, it tells them that, hey, we the city are looking for you to provide participation in those multi-million-dollar contracts. So they come to our list, and not just our list, but we go to the SCDOT's list and the county's list, the small business enterprise list. Frank, y'all got a list, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We also the city of North Charleston. We also have our SBE in a small business enterprise certification, which the name changed maybe, but the goal is still the same and the assignment is the same. So exactly what Ms. Ruth was saying, whether it be the SBE, the MBE, your DBE, your SCDOT, your FTA, your FAA, your SOD, like we call it the alphabet soup. And the more certifications that you have, it does not, let me be clear, it does not guarantee you work. It does not guarantee you contracts, but it definitely makes you more attractive to those who have to adhere to different guidelines, whether it be local, state, or federal. And once you learn how to be in those environments, when you know what your elevator pitch needs to sound like, when you know what your NAICS codes, your NAC codes are, and you know how to maneuver these things, you learn about all that if you come to the city of North Charleston or you go to the city. It will help you understand how to identify yourself, the things that you're listening for when you go to the outreaches. Some of these outreaches are mandatory. Some are not mandatory. But if you're hungry, they're mandatory. So, yes, we have our list just alone, our list will allow you to position yourself so that you can be more attractive to a lot of the opportunities that are out there.
Thank
That's how
you.
much it costs, Felicia. How much does it cost, Frank?
$0.
$0.
Free. Free.
Yes.
Free.
A little bit of time and sweat.
A lot of time and sweat.
No, it isn't.
It's not as it is definitely not as bad as it used to be. And these days you can potentially with some good, if you have your documents in place, Ms. Ruth has a fast track. I'm sure that can possibly get you something done in a week, if not.
And once you do one, once you complete one certification, it's like a good resume. Once you do a good resume, all you do is tweak it for the next certification. So once you get my certification, you get the state, you get North Charleston, because you just did one, and it's always all the same documentation that's required. We require 2 years of taxes. The state requires 3 years. So all of us require at least 2 years of your personal 1 year of your personal and 1 year of your business taxes. Or if you got 2 years of your business taxes, you cannot exceed $7.5 million. If you've already exceeded $7.5 million, don't knock on my door. You don't need help from me because you already you've exceeded and graduated. So if you're making less than 7.5, you need to be certified. But you must have been in business at least 1 full year with the city. But with SCDOT, the state, they don't care whether you've been in business 1 day or 1 year. But they will rake you through the coals, and they will make sure they look up and down to make sure you are who you are.
Thank y'all. So one of the things that was mentioned earlier was having a business plan. So a lot of people have great business ideas, but success comes from making sure the idea is viable and backed by a solid business plan. Daryl, from your perspective in Trident Tech's entrepreneur program, how should aspiring entrepreneurs go about testing the viability of their idea and then developing a strong business strategy or business plan around that idea?
Well, at Trident Tech, we actually offer courses that will assist you in developing a business plan. And right now is an excellent time to actually look into Trident Tech because of the fact that right now we have tuition-free programs going on for small business entrepreneurship. We have the small business entrepreneurship actual degree, which is a 2-year degree, and we have the small business entrepreneurship certificate, which is a year. The certificate does not require as many courses as the degree, and the degree is usually 2 years. But what it amounts to is there's some funds that were left over with the state after COVID, and that money has been turned over to some of the community colleges like Trident Tech to be able to offer free tuition. Now, not all of the programs at Tech are free, but small business entrepreneurship is one of those particular programs, both the degree and the certificate that are free. Now, you still have to purchase your own textbooks. The textbooks are not free, but as far as the tuition is concerned, there are some opportunities there for you to be able to get that. And a part of both the certificate and the degree, both of them, you will be exposed to courses involving how to prepare a business plan. Matter of fact, it's a whole semester course, which is basically 7 weeks on how to prepare the business plan. And you get a chance to have it reviewed. You get a chance to get input from professional people. And we actually will sometimes get bankers involved to review it, to see how they feel about it, some of the things that could be done differently. They give some feedback so that you can know what is missing, what else needs to be done. Because when you are going to go into business for yourself, you're going to have a business plan when you get ready to get funding, whether it be from a bank itself, or a lot of the time, even if you go into an investor is going to want to see your business plan. And the thing is it needs to be professionally done. A lot of times people think that they can just write down a few things here, there, and the other, and it's going to work. No, the same way we're talking about, you got to put some time into it. That's what happens with the business plan. You got to put some time and effort into it because it represents you. And the big thing about the business plan that is probably most important is the projection of your income. Because when you go to a bank to borrow money, they expect to be repaid. I know that may surprise a lot of you, but in reality, they do expect to be repaid. So therefore, they expect the business plan to reflect. Eventually, you get to that point where you can generate enough profit. A lot of times people feel like if you're not generating profit immediately, then you're not going to qualify for the loan. That's not the case because most businesses aren't going to generate profit from day one. It's going to take time before it happens. However, you have to have working capital. Remember, we talked about finances. You have to have working capital to cover you until you get to the point where the actual business that you own can generate enough income to repay the loan.
And
Thank
Felicia,
you.
can I talk about side entrepreneurs,
Yes, ma'am.
the side hustlers? And so we have what we call side entrepreneurs. We don't call them hustlers. We call them side entrepreneurs. They're not ready to take that big leap. They're working their 9 to 5. And so their 9 to 5 helps pay for their 5 to 10. And so, which is fine. Because I always tell people, taking that leap, you better be ready. And so we clearly understand that, we got a lot of side entrepreneurs who are doing great things. Because I once was a side entrepreneur too. But when I looked at how much money I was making being a side entrepreneur, I was making more money from my side being a realtor. I was making 6 figures, and here my government job, which paid for my insurance. I ended up taking that leap. And so beginning to count up the costs and understanding that you may not always be able to get the funding right away, but if you start putting away funding, because you begin to look at what do you have. Well, I'm saving money so that I can launch my business full time. Whether you got a spouse who will support you, whether you got family members, which is our family members are typically our first investors, or that spouse is sometimes your first investor. And so always getting funding from the traditional source may not necessarily be available, but you can begin to save and start planning where when you're working that 9 to 5, well, I'm gonna start buying that piece of equipment that I need from my 9 to 5. And so, so putting together that business plan, because sometimes, I don't know, but you guys, maybe you guys were born with a silver spoon in your mouth and you were given $400 million to launch your business, Frank, but both, so all we had was faith and people who believed in us and beginning to set aside our funding from our 9 to 5 to help support our dream 5 to 10.
I know we have to go, Felicia, just to piggyback on one thing real quick, which Darryl touched on. And I know they're saying, or you hear people in your audience could be thinking about, how do I know what I'm going to make? How do I know what the business plan financials needs to look like? All of this is research. All of this is there's typically nothing that you're doing that someone hasn't already done, or that there's information that you can research to get an educated guess on what you will, what revenue will be generated. So we're not asking you to have all the answers. Another jewel, I gotta say it. This is the modern day. This is technology. This is a time when the business plans that I had to write when I was coming in, starting businesses, we didn't have the technology that's available now. I'm gonna leave with one jewel. ChatGPT, prompted to proper way, will not listen. Stop thinking you have to do everything by hand. You're making it more difficult than it is. If you prompt this thing the right way, the templates that are available, the programs that are available, just the free formatting on templates that are available, aside from ChatGPT, will spit you out a program or a living document. Because, like Darryl said, and Ms. Ruth alluded to, that business plan is a living document. It is not supposed to take you from beginning to end without being adjusted. You want to change it. If you have a business plan and you hadn't changed that business plan in the last 2, 3, 4 years, you're not doing your job. You're doing yourself an injustice. So let's stop making it more difficult and giving you excuses as to why you can't take that leap. Let's stop making those excuses as to why you can't get finance ready. You don't have to have a lot of money. People, they're called angel investors. Some people are investing just because of an idea, but that idea has to be well thought out. That business plan needs to make sense, and the numbers and the things that you're looking for to put into your business plan that you have no clue about, that's research. That's called R&D, research and development, that you can check. The internet has for what company, how much did this company make for this, how much revenue is being generated average across the board for a particular industry sector, or so on and so forth. So don't get caught up in the small things. It sounds like a lot, but I say again, technology is here for you. And with a little hustle and research and development, you can find all the answers you need.
Thank you, Frank. And I just wanted to, before we go to the questions that are from the audience, one other thing that I wanted to ask you guys is, what does readiness, financial readiness, mean for an aspiring entrepreneur? So I know you touched on it a little bit about, like you get a contract and you're not going to get that money from the city or from the county or from the federal government right away. So you need to have some money set aside. I know, Darryl, this is a space that you've operated in, and Frank and Ms. Ruth, y'all can also tap in as well. But what does that financial readiness look like for an inspiring entrepreneur?
Let's start with the banker.
Okay, well, what it amounts to is one thing that you need to do is actually be credit worthy. And what I mean by that is, even though you're looking to run a business, one of the things that a bank is going to also do is check to see how you're handling your personal responsibilities, because the two go hand in hand. So from that perspective, one of the things that's going to be checked is, how are you handling your financial obligations personally? Then when it comes to the business, what normally happens is you will be required to do a 3-year business plan where you actually do projections for 3 years in reference to showing what your expected income is going to be, as well as what your expected expenses are going to be. And believe it or not, it's anticipated that the first year a small business is going to lose money. Matter of fact, if you come with a business plan that's showing within the first year that you're making a tremendous amount of money, then a lot of the times you could be declined because of the fact that your business plan just doesn't look realistic. So a lot of the times what will happen is, the first year you are going to lose money. The second year, you hopefully will be able to break even. And by the third year, you're reflecting that you're able to generate a profit. Now, the key to this is this: when we say financial readiness, are you able to sustain yourself when you're losing money? So in other words, if the business isn't generating enough income that first year that you're losing money, then how are you able to sustain yourself? A lot of things that will happen with a lot of individuals is, they may not give up, as Ruth calls it, that side job immediately. They may have to go ahead and continue to work that first year, that second year, and do both. And then when they get to the point that they're actually self-sufficient, at that point, then they can actually walk away from that other job that they're doing, which is their regular job, and move in full time to the business that they are actually starting. So one of the things that will be looked at is, will you be able to actually sustain yourself during that time when you're trying to build up your actual sales to the point that you can generate enough income to cover your expenses?
Just to piggyback on top of what Darryl said, I believe that we all have to take into account that many of us have been trained to be intimidated by the banking system. We're intimidated by even going in there because we don't know our numbers. We don't know what a balance sheet looks like. We don't know what cash flow means. We don't know what, our financial literacy knowledge base is limited. These days, because of the diverse type of the diverse crowd of people and businesses that we see here in the city of North Charleston, we have things we call, what I tend to drop jewels would be credit hacks. We have so many different updated ways that can get you funding. Whether you're opening a brand new business, we need to know whether we're going to credit unions. We need to know why we're going to these places. We need to know who they're pulling from, whether they're pulling from the 3 credit bureaus, which bureau they're calling. Oh, they're pulling from. Why do you want to be have a relationship with Bank of America, which is what we consider some of the big banks, versus a local credit union? You need to know the strengths of all. This is a relationship. Relationship is not you keeping your money in that bank. That's not a relationship. And I think we need to redefine why and how, like where we sit in the niche, in the mesh of everything. We don't see ourselves as powerful when we walk into these places. We don't see ourselves as knowledgeable when we walk into these places. So we're going in with a defeated mentality anyway. It should not be about what they can do for you. They want to make money off of you, period. And if you can find a way to present yourself in a manner so that they can feel as though they're comfortable enough giving you this money or lending you this money, then it only makes sense. You have to change your mentality. And being prepared, we have credit hacks. We have hacks that can, whether it be credit card, credit hacks, and you can come by here. I can't really elaborate as much as I like to about what a hack means, but trust me, come to the city, come to North Charleston, come and really sit down and we can help explain how these hacks can help boost your credit. Because if you didn't know, business credit and personal credit is 2 different things. Not on the same scale, it's not tracked the same way. You have things, for example, 30-day accounts. You have trade lines. You have share loans. You have so many things that we can really get into to help you get ready to build your credit, whether it be your business credit when you're first starting or your personal credit to really get you off the ground properly. We didn't have all this when I was starting. Now I'm excited. I'm so excited when they come back and they're excited. I cry more than I have in my whole life. Just off things of helping people to really they go in the bank not feeling confident, and when they come out, you be amazed at what works these days. You'll be amazed at the things that we can do to better your credit and really get you in a position of power.
And can I just add just one thing? The 5 C's. Y'all both sort of target this. And Darryl started with credit worthiness, C. Character is what Frank talked about. Sometimes your character will get you places where your credit can't get you there, okay? Yeah. Collateral. What collateral do you have that's available? What cash do you have? Whether it's in your 401, whether it's equity in your house, all these different places where you have cash that we don't sometimes think about. And then finally, the capacity to do the business. We call it the 5 C's of financial readiness. So that's credit worthiness, character, collateral, cash and capacity. And you said, what's capacity? Do you have the capacity to do the business? It's one thing to talk about it. It's one thing to dream about it, but you have to have the capacity, and the banks or your lenders want to know that you have the capacity. Do you have the workforce? Do you have the equipment? You might have the energy, but do you have the capacity to perform the work that you say you want to do and the business that you want to run? So the 5 C's is what banks typically look at.
Thank you, Ms. Ruth. And those were all great. I wrote all 5 of them down. So
And
we're going to go to the Q&A session from the chat. So someone asked, do I have to have a business license if I make jewelry to sell and want to sell it at different programs all around? And would I just have a license? And would I just have a license where I live?
That's a great question. And we are, we get that phone call at least once a day. And so each city, depending on how you want to sell. So if you want to sell in the city of Charleston, sometimes they'll give you a peddler's license if you want to go down to the market. But one of the things, if it's just, like I said, if it's just small jewelry, if you don't want to have a license, but when you want to say be on city property, they're going to ask you to have a license. So even if you have a food truck, they're going to ask you to have a business license. And I oftentimes tell people business licenses are very cheap to get. It's just that when you go, don't tell them you plan to make $1 million. Because if you tell them you plan to make $1 million, they assess you at $1 million. But if you are just a part-time jewelry maker and you say, hey, I might make $2,500 a year or $5,000, that license might just cost you $25. And so it's all about, so I recommend get a business license. So if you want to go to hand-in-hand, sometimes hand-in-hand requires you to do a business license in hand-in-hand. Like you go to Seabrook Island, they'll require you to have it. But if you start at $25 for a business license, it's a great investment because people ask, if I'm going to do business with you and I'm spending a couple $100, I want to know, do you have a business license? But it's not required. But if you want to sell at the market, you will need a business license.
Thank you. All right, here's the next question from the audience. Does service-oriented training or coaching businesses have different criteria? My niche audience is within corporate and school district leadership. As an education consultant, I'm structured to provide professional development, particularly for district and school leaders. I'm a speaker, author, and certified in life, grief, and wellness coaching. I am recently retired Georgia High School, I think it's Georgia High School principal, veteran Army officer, and wellness advocate. I'm the founder of my home-based business, Thrive Well Consulting. My LLC is purposeful in solving the overwhelm and insufficient well-being support for education and corporate leaders so that they can build their resilience, enhance emotional intelligence, and cultivate a supportive organizational culture, excuse me. So the question for them is, does service-oriented businesses have different criteria?
If you want to be certified as a professional consultant that provides these services, but what we will say to you, what do you do 51% of the time? And so you have to identify your national industry code, which we call your NAICS code. So you will have to identify that. But we have lots of professional consultants, and whether they're in healthcare, whether it's in education, whether it's business development. So they're consultants. So the certification is just the same in terms here with the city of Charleston. We just ask you to identify what it is that you do 51% of the time, because you get an option of choosing 2 NAICS codes, which identifies, because when the federal government and when the county is looking for certain kinds of work to be done, they put in the NAICS codes. They don't always just put in consultant, because when you look up your national industry, the North American National Industry Code, it will have consultants and it'll be 1,000 sub numbers that's there. So you got to figure out where you identify, and it's self-identifying. Frank, you want to add to it?
Just to piggyback on what you said, everything was spot on. Also the same here with North Charleston. Because you tend to have, I tell business owners that have a lot of, you find your core values first. Let's identify what you, like she said, what you do 51% of the time. Now, not to negate the other added value services that you may provide, but you have to narrow it down so you don't sometimes seem like you're all over the place. You don't want to seem as though you're doing so much, because a lot of times we get in our head that we want to make sure that we don't miss the bus and just list everything we're doing. That can be perceived as a little sporadic, a little all over the place, a little bit like, what do you do specifically? And I understand I'm a product of doing the same thing I'm telling you not to do now. But I learned that once you identify your core values, which you do 51% of the time, then those doors, knowing the other things that are available, they call value added services, those services can then be talked about when needed. You don't need, if someone's asking for a dry cleaner and you're telling them that you cut trees as well, that's not what they're asking for. Stay specific to what the need is, whatever you do 51% of the time. And then when the opportunity presents itself for you to give that value added, that extra information, those extra net codes, because keep in mind, the NAICS codes that Ms. Ruth is talking about, those can be added on and on and on. You can have a million of them before it's all said and done, but you want to start off with specific core values so you can address those opportunities specifically.
Thank you, Frank. And I'm going to tie the next two questions together. One says, if you have a degree already in business, if I have a degree already, is the business degree still free at Trident? And then the other question is, I have a business license. Do I need a business certificate?
I can answer the first one. If you have a degree already, then you still can get the free tuition. And what will happen is there's a possibility that some of the courses that you have already taken for your current degree may be able to be substituted for some of the courses that you're required to take as far as the degree at Trident Tech. As long as the degree is either your bachelor's or from another institution, then you stand a chance that those courses could be substituted. Trident doesn't take courses on the master's level or the PhD level, but if it's the bachelor's or from another school, then you may be able to substitute some of those courses for the courses that are required at Tech. But the free tuition is not a factor involving whether or not you have a current degree. It depends on the degree that you're trying to obtain at Trident Tech.
Some of the certifications, and I know it may be, you're hearing word certifications. There's different certifications that apply to different industries. When I say certification, if I'm a carpenter, I'm thinking of, yes, you may have certification specifically to the type of work I do specifically, but what Ms. Ruth and I are mainly talking about is certifications that help make your business more attractive, i.e. the Small Business Enterprise Department, the SBE certification, the MBE, Minority Business Enterprise certification, the DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise certification. Those certifications are totally separate from the certifications mainly in construction, the service industry, things of that nature. So there's two different type conversations we're having. One helps to enhance the possibility of being seen, if you will. The others may be certifications that are definitely needed when you're going into any job, whether it be a general contractor or anything, mainly from what I've seen in the, maybe, I don't know, Ms. Ruth, in the professional services realm. I don't know, Daryl, specifically in your, in your line of work, how many certifications you see. But for me, we're having two different, the word is being used interchangeable, but there is a difference.
And I think part of that question was about a business license. A business license is separate. A business license is what the city or the county requires for you to do business in that area. That's just a business license. So if you're going to do business in the city of Charleston, you go and you apply for your business license. That's just your business license, because the government got to get their taxes. They got to get a piece of that. And so that's business licensing. But certifications, just like Frank just said, it helps legitimize your business. It helps give your business a leg up. They said, why be certified? You're being certified so that you can be involved in networking opportunities. You be involved in that, you be first in line to receive upcoming notices in and around free workshops, and around expos, and around contracting opportunities. That's all going to be going to those businesses that are certified, whether you're MBE, minority business certified, whether you're a woman-owned business certified, or a SBA certified, or you SCDOT certified. So those certifications help your business be a leg up. Because again, like I stated, that when you go to the city of North Charleston, or the city of Charleston, or the county, they need to be able to track that spending. And the only spending they're going to track is the one that they did with a business that was certified as an SBE or MWBE or a SBA. That's how we track what our spend was with those small businesses.
In this age where you have not, you may not have a location, you have a virtual
home-based business.
If you have a virtual business, for example, yes, I would not personally advise that if you have a virtual business and you're making revenue in Goose Creek and Monk's Corner and North Charleston and the city of Charleston. Personally, I would not advise to go get that business license immediately, because you're not making significant enough business, and that's no guarantee that your revenue is really coming from there. There may be a one-off, a two-off. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about if you have the majority of your revenue, or a substantial contract, or a substantial amount of your revenue is coming from this particular area, that's when you need to check in, because you're not getting a couple coins. You're getting some real money from these people from these areas. So just don't get caught up in the business license arena. It's very simple to get. It's even on the North Charleston website. It's even on the Charleston website. You're like, business license should be the least of your worries right now. Let's get this revenue. Let's get this format. Let's get this structure. Let's get this financial readiness, and let's go ahead and get this money.
Thank you all. The next question is, how do you know what type of business structure you should have, like LLC? How do I collect and remit sales taxes? Is there like an online class I can take to get a better understanding? But for starting, it will be a small home-based business.
Oftentimes people tell people to defer to your accountant. I tell people, talk to your accountant. Whoever does your taxes, talk about setting up that structure. Remember, we talked about, you got bail, so you need to have some bail. So one of the things is talk to your accountant. So if you're looking at, when we all are required to file taxes, so I would tell you to talk to the person that does your taxes so that they can defer and advise you there. And so, Daryl, I know you do a lot with business classes, so I don't tell people to be an LLC or S corp. I tell them to talk to their accountant. Daryl, how do you advise them?
We do the same thing. Even though we teach the difference in our courses, we ultimately tell them, though, because we always tell them when they're going to go into business for themselves, the same thing that you mentioned, having some key people that's a part. And we always say the people you got on speed dial. And one of the persons you need to have on speed dial is an accountant. So that accountant should tell you which way you should go as far as the structure of your business. And so one of the people should be on speed dial is your accountant. And of course, the other one should be definitely an attorney. And so sometimes the attorney will help you to actually do the structure, but it's the accountant that makes the recommendation. So all we do is we teach you the difference, but we don't tell you which one you should pursue.
And to piggyback on what Daryl and Ms. Ruth just said, I always advise, as I said, to get that professional opinion, that professional advisory, but educate yourself as well. You need to know why They need to be able to articulate why and what the benefits are with the structure that you're looking for. Because the structure that you start with does not have to be the structure you end with. As your company continues to grow, different things go on, you mature, you evolve, different, whether you're a single member LLC today, you may need to be a multi-member LLC at some point so that you can allow different investors to come into the business so you can build your capacity. And someone may bring a lump sum of money into the business. You may need to change, whether it be for your tax purposes. You don't want to be taxed twice. Double taxation is a real thing. So you may need to know, like Dara was saying, take those classes. Yeah, it's fine, and this is just me. It's fine for you to have someone to advise you, but they need to be able to articulate and tell me, makes sense to me, make it make sense as to why I'm doing what you're saying that I'm doing. How does this benefit my business versus doing another way? So once again, nothing goes against you doing your own research. You don't need to be blinded at any time. I find that a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses, we tend to figure we want to rely on professionals wholeheartedly. When these professionals fail you, who's at fault? You're still at the end of the day responsible for those decisions that you make. Yes, you may have paid them for such and such services, but when you're not getting or run into a brick wall because you didn't understand the format or the advice that they gave you, you're still being held liable.
Thank you, Frank. And one of the final questions is, what are your thoughts on SCORE mentoring? So I know you mentioned mentoring as one of the pillars. What is your thought on SCORE mentoring?
So I'll just start because I work with a lot of what we call in the ecosystem. We have the Women's Business Center, I Hope. We have SBDC, which is the South Carolina Small Business Development Center. We have SCORE, we have Klein Fund, we have Community Loan Fund, we have, you name it. We have tons of people out there that's providing opportunities and access. SCORE is a professional group of former CEOs and professionals who are retired. And so again, SCORE provides great opportunities. They have a lot of free classes as well, or classes that they charge very minimal on, and they bring a wealth of knowledge. But you do need to be responsible. If someone's not providing you the best counseling, you need to say, hey, I want another mentor. Because sometimes just because they're under the umbrella of SCORE doesn't mean you're going to get the best mentor, because sometimes some people just don't match. But SCORE does have great mentors. They have great experience in terms of different retirement areas where they retired from, whether accountants, whether CEOs or corporates. But the main thing is they provide a lot of free workshops. So we support SCORE as one of our key partners that we work with on an annual and a monthly basis, along with the other agencies as well. SCASA, you name it. We could just go on and on and on. Frank, anybody else I missed?
I mean, you got Low Country First.
Low Country Local First. Mm-hmm.
First, which really primarily focuses on local businesses. You have the Urban League. The Urban League for your taxes if needed. They have some information. I'm telling you, there's no excuse. Like Ms. Ruth said, we have just so many different mentors and resources. I'm a product of SCORE, but like she said, I love the way you summed it up. I couldn't say it more eloquently because I heard you. So I really heard you. And I don't know if they hear you, but you can only sometimes you may run into a situation where Umbrella provides great services. You use the services that you require to get you to where you want, and there's nothing wrong with moving on and getting another mentor. You should have multiple mentors if you want. I'm gonna say it because I feel we're in a safe space. I stalked my mentors. When I first started, I professionally stalked my mentors. I researched them. I found out what they did, who they were, and made myself available. That's what it is.
That's what you were doing to me, stalking
Yeah,
me?
absolutely, yes.
My mama calls it doing your homework. So we'll say, do your homework,
Right,
do
right.
your research, and you do your homework.
You cannot imagine.
AKA stalk them.
Yeah, you
But
really can't. The amount of people, the professionals that I still have in my life to this day, and I am so indebted to them. I am so indebted. I didn't do anything to deserve how they treat me. I didn't do anything, as far as I'm concerned, to just how they help me, whether it be a phone call, whether it be just some counsel. So find yourself a good mentor. Have a couple of them.
thank you. And I just want to reiterate that I'm actually at school, so that's why my lights keep going out, because I teach in the evenings. And having a mentor is something that I tell my students all the time. Like, you can never have too many, because they will help you at different aspects in your life. So definitely I can piggyback on that. We have come to the end of this wonderful session. So as we are closing out, I wanted to ask you guys, what's one piece of advice or key takeaway that you can leave with the audience? And you have about 30 to 40 seconds to give that piece of advice.
Go ahead, Ms. Ruth.
Oh, one piece of advice is take the leap. Take the leap. I will tell you, every successful business had to start. We don't ever recognize and never remember how many times somebody, practiced that 3-point shot. But making that 3-point shot at the crucial time won the game. So you just got to go ahead and get started and keep on playing. Get started. Take the leap.
I'm going to use my 30 seconds to show a difference for people who may be interested. I mentioned earlier that we have a degree program and we have a certificate. I just want to clarify the difference. The certificate program is for someone who's already in business, that already has some experience, and they may be interested in taking their business to the next level. The degree program is specifically for someone who either is relatively new or haven't gone into business, and they need those additional courses. So from that perspective, I'm going to use my 30 seconds to distinguish between the two. But also, I would like to piggyback on what Ruth is saying, and that is go for it. Go for it. Because the only way you're going to know is if you try.
Thank you.
And finally, for me, my 30 seconds, don't be afraid to fail.
Go forward.
I'm a product of failure. You fail fast, you fail quick, you learn something about it, and you get back up. It's the same thing I train my children. I teach them, don't be afraid to fail. It's all about getting back up and learning something from your failures. So the only way you can fail is if you don't try.
Thank you. And one of the things another question that popped up that came up twice is, can we get each speaker's phone number and address? So can you guys share your information with the audience?
Okay.
So go ahead, Ms. Ruth, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Ruth Jordan with the City of Charleston. My phone number is 843-724-7434. That's Ruth Jordan with the City of Charleston. That's Jordan. And my email address is Jordan, Jordan, R like in Ruth, at charleston-sc.gov. And you can always Google me. I'm over. You'll find me somewhere. So
that's
Ruth
how I
Jordan,
found her, y'all.
Charleston. Yes.
Mine is Daryl Milligan. It's Daryl, Daryl, and I like to emphasize that because a lot of people use 2 R's, but it's actually Daryl, Daryl.Milligan, Milligan, at tridenttech.edu. That's the quickest way to reach me because I'm constantly checking my emails. Okay.
And my name is Frank Ancrum. That's ANCRUM. I'm the Small Business Enterprise Manager for the City of North Charleston, now newly the Office of Business Opportunities Manager for the City of North Charleston. My number here in the office is 843-740-2540. That's 843-740-2540. My email is Ancrum, that's ANCRUM at northcharleston.org.
And Felicia, can I make one announcement?
Yes, ma'am.
So here at the City of Charleston, we not only do business certification and business development, but we provide co-working spaces for small businesses that need affordable co-working spaces on the peninsula at an affordable price. We have private offices, open offices, and semi-private. And this fall, we're going to put Black businesses back on King Street. I'm going to have 5 boutiques on King Street, not in the back of the hood, on King Street.
Amen.
And so I will tell you, this has been an undertaking, but we trust and believe. I went to a conference one time and someone says, "What do you have in your hand?" But we, the city, had tax credits. We, the city, had businesses and buildings. And we said, we want to use those spaces to make the city of Charleston look like our community, look like our city. And so with the tone of at the top of our council and our mayor, we now have affordable first-class office space in the city of Charleston. This is called the Entrepreneur Resource Center. We have beautiful conference rooms. We have a data center, as well as a healthy corner store to address the food desert on the east side of downtown Charleston. And so look for it. We invite you all to come and tour the at 91 Hanover and Lee Street, and look for the applications for 5 boutiques that's coming this fall on King Street.
Thank you. And one last question for Ms. Ruth. Do you have to live in the city of Charleston to rent a space?
No, we certified the 46 counties all over the state of South Carolina. And you don't have to live in the city of Charleston to use the space.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So as we, go ahead.
Frank, I'm sorry I missed you when you came through last. I was out of town.
I'll be back. It's a beautiful facility.
Thank you. And Daryl taught one of his first classes over there with us.
Yes, it is wonderful. I strongly encourage you to use the space because it has a atmosphere that is very professional.
Thank you.
All dedicated for small, underrepresented, disadvantaged, marginalized small businesses. Wink, wink.
Thank you all for giving me. Thank you for even allowing me to be on the panel with such scholars, such juggernauts. I appreciate you all so much.
Likewise.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
And thank you, Felicia, for thinking of us.
No problem. And I just wanted to close out by saying thank you to each of you who joined our session tonight. Whether you're trying to decide whether you want to start or if you're already on your journey, as the advice that was given by the panel is take the leap of faith and step out on faith, trusting and believing that that's the plan that God has for you. We hope that tonight's session gave you some sense of clarity and encouragement as well. And to my incredible panelists, Frank, Miss Ruth, and Daryl, thank you guys so much. I saw Frank at a seminar, a workshop that they had at the city of Charleston a couple of months ago, and also stopped Miss Ruth. Reached out to her as well, and that also with Daryl. Like, thank you guys so much for pouring into this space with your wisdom, practical guidance, and real world experiences. and we will be back. So stay tuned for future Wellness on Wednesday workshops. Also, just wanted to remind you guys that Ms. Ruth did share that there is a lender matching on August 9th. So hopefully that information will be shared. Ms. Ruth, if you can send that to me, and I can also share it with our committee, we can try to get that out to them. But as you guys are having different workshops, please share that and we can forward it out as well. So thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Frank. Always great hanging out with you guys.
Y'all have a great one. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.